Good evening, gentlemen. It's Mr. Ebenezer, and tonight I'm coming to you from my kitchen in Twickenham. It's Friday night. I imagine you won't get this though till about Tuesday or Wednesday, but I hope you're doing okay, and I hope your mums and dads are hanging in there as well. As you know, every week I give you a video message, and it centres on our three pillars of boys, the Christian faith, and enterprise. And usually I start with a story about a boy, and then we go on to the enterprise skill, and then I finish off with a verse from the Bible in line with our Christian ethos. Tonight, I'm going to do it the other way around. I'm going to start with a verse from the Bible, then give you an enterprise skill, and then finish off with an inspirational story about a boy. And the verse I want to give you tonight is found in Ephesians. It's chapter 5, and it's verse 16. And it says this: make the best use of the time. Or another version of the Bible says, redeem the time. Make the most of the time. Now, I imagine that many of you boys over the last few weeks have said, I'm bored. I'm fed up. This is so boring. But I want to say to you that I think all that's going on, whatever else we can say, we've been given the gift of time. We live in a really busy, frantic, frenetic world, particularly in London. The pace of life is so fast. And yet, in the last sort of 5 or 6 weeks, all of us have been made to slow down and to stop. And rather than seeing this as a time where we can be bored and fed up and frustrated, I'm going to encourage you to make the most of the time. Like the verse we just read, redeem it, take advantage of it, make the most of it. And I'm going to encourage you tonight to make the most of it by thinking. Because when we live in a busy world, we very rarely have time to think. So I'm going to encourage you boys tonight to think, really think. Think about your work. You've been set lots of work by your teachers. Think about it. Think about the progress you're making. But don't just think about it because you want to think about it because I've got to get this assignment done and I want to get a good level. But think about all the things you're learning. So when you come back to the Fulham Boys School, whenever that is, and I'm hoping it's June, I'm sure you are too, think about what you know more. So what you've learnt about history, about geography, about science, about maths, about French, about English. What have you learned? Think about it. So you come back to Fulham Boys School knowing more, understanding more. Think about yourself. Think about the type of boy you are. Think about your strengths and your weaknesses. Think about your skills, the things you can do really well. And then think about the things that you're not so good at, and think, how can I improve on those things? And the things I'm good at, how can I use them better? My father-in-law, he's 76 years of age, very old, isn't it? And he has had a phobia, really, towards computers and IT. But in lockdown, he has started to use email, and he's quite fascinated by Zoom, and it's opened up a whole new world to him. And so use this time to really kind of overcome any fears you might have had about certain things or things that you don't think you're very good at. Give it a go. Think about your strengths. Think about your weaknesses and how you can better use those and get better at the things that you need to. Think about your family. I imagine you've been kind of locked up with your family now for a long time. Think about how you can be a better son, a better brother, better grandson. Think about how you can improve your family life and how you can make a difference in a positive way to your family. Think about other people. Think about your neighbours. Think about boys in school. Think about your friends and how you can treat them better. Think about boys you might ignore. Think about boys you might have been spiteful to. Say, how can I put those things right? Think about it. Think about the things you've heard in assemblies from Mr. Brown, and think about his podcasts. Think about maybe things I've said to you over the last few weeks about what the famous people have said to you. Just take time to just sort of think. And there's a word called meditate. And what that means is to think over these things, not just to think about it once, but to keep thinking about it and take it in. And what thinking does is it makes you question, which is another enterprise skill, isn't it? You think and then you question. And so you think, what do I really think about these things? And what is actually happening at the moment? And why is the world the way it is? And why am I the way I am? And what do I really think about the things I'm told? Just think and question and challenge. So I'm urging you, gents, in line with our Christian ethos, redeem the time. Make the most of the time. Don't wish it away. Don't be bored. Don't be frustrated. Don't be fed up. But use the time to think and to take stock and to make yourself a better boy. Which leads me on to a boy or a man that I want to talk to you about tonight. I'm actually going to give you two, like I said, one mainly and then just reference the other. And really, I'm going to use a speech that Jack made when he was in year 10. So I owe this to Jack, really. And the name of the man is Thomas Edison. And I'm just going to basically read to you the speech that Jack gave about 18 months ago. So listen carefully. And it's all about boredom. And Jack starts by saying, what do you really understand about boredom? Do you really appreciate the gift of boredom? From a young age, built into us like a sixth sense, is this need to be occupied, this longing to be constantly entertained. That's why we used to cry for our mother or dad to play with us when we were younger, or when we scream for our grandpa's watch or our uncle's phone. Everything is given to us on a plate these days. The flick of a switch, the press of a button, the turn of a page. Yet despite that, we still struggle to stay content for long, don't we? That film ends. That song is over. We finish that book. Our friends are great, but man, their jokes get old, don't they? So because of all these things, people tell you boredom is bad. Boredom is dangerous. Boredom is something to be avoided. But let me tell you, they're wrong. Don't listen to those people. Let me take you somewhere. 1879, New York. And sitting in his house is a man notorious for being bored. This man is Thomas Edison. He was so famously bored at school, he was labelled a misfit and was homeschooled. He was bored at his job in the Western Union and therefore quit and left for New York to become an inventor. He was so bored, in fact, that historians have commented on his boredom. So when we find him here in 1879, we can probably say he was, once again, bored. But then suddenly, a light bulb moment, and his whole imagination is illuminated with this idea. He's going to make the light bulb. Ladies and gentlemen, or should I say, boys, boredom is not bad. It's wonderful. It's a gateway to incredible things, new ideas, unexplored possibilities. But more than that, boredom lets you really appreciate what matters to you in your life. Your friends, your family, your loved ones. So when you're next bored, now, sitting in your room, twiddling your thumbs, remember a whole city, a whole world, lit up with lights because of one man's boredom. Gentlemen, use this time to think, take stock, appreciate, and even discover. Why can't some of you boys in this time make great discoveries so that a young 15-year-old boy in years to come is making a speech about you in 2020 and what you discovered when you were bored? Now I'm going to end tonight by giving some shout outs, because the whole point of me giving these speeches and these videos is to inspire you and to keep you going. But I've got to say that over the last few weeks, you boys have inspired me way more than I can ever inspire you. And I've watched video clips of some of you boys doing kick-ups in stairwells in your flats, and doing stretches in your garden and cooking food in your kitchens. And it really has made me want to keep going, because you're fast becoming my heroes. Because so many of you are dealing with this situation so well. And I want to give some shout outs. I want to give a shout out to Kareem in year 10, who has been exceptional at completing work for computing. For Tom in year 7, who has been amazing at helping around the house, cooking, cleaning, shopping for his grandma and learning new skills. Gregor, he's taught himself to make Krispy Kreme donuts, what a skill, and fresh pasta. And he's written a letter to his teachers and asked for donations from all sorts of people for a potential new club at school. And he's spending his days perfecting his trampoline skills. And then finally, Sam in year 10 for participating in 10 hours of cosmic mining. So I just want to say and end, boys, by saying, don't be bored, okay? Redeem the time, make the most of the time. Think of examples like Thomas Edison. And I just want to give a shout out to all you boys who are really inspiring me at this time. And I said to you, I'm going to give you 2 men or 2 boys for the price of 1. And the other boy I'm going to leave you with is Isaac Newton, who in 1665 had to work from home when the University of Cambridge was temporarily closed due to the bubonic plague. And it was the most productive period of his life. And he used that time to develop his theories of calculus, opticus, and gravity. Don't be bored. Who knows what you boys might discover or think about in the next few weeks and months. Take stock, gentlemen. I miss you, like I say, I genuinely do. I can't wait to see you again when all this is past. But in the meantime, Cymer ofal, take care, and I'll speak to you next week. Diolch yn fawr.